Howdy, this is Karen from KarenDawn Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to knit stripes in the round without creating a jog. What a jog is when you're knitting in the round, you are actually knitting a spiral so that when you change colors, you can see that I have this gray stitch that is right next to this green stitch. So I've been knitting around, I finish the gray, I start with the green, and I have just this little bit of a jog in the colors. Now this is a project that has very wide stripes, and so this jog is not as noticeable, but when you have a project with smaller stripes, say 2 or 3 rounds per stripe, then this is going to really start to show up, and it's something that you may want to avoid. So I'm going to show you how to avoid that. I've come to the point in this project where I want to switch from the pink to the gray. So the first thing that I want to do is knit 1 complete round with the gray. So go ahead and do that, and the magic happens on the next round. So I'm going to go ahead and knit 1 round and be right back. I've come to the end of the round and I have knit 1 full round of gray, the new color. So what I want to do here is remove my stitch marker, and then we're going to camouflage this little jump in the round by taking the previous round. So look at your stitch, this first stitch right here. We're going to look at 1 stitch below it, so this pink stitch, and we're going to grab on to this right leg of the pink stitch. And it might be a little tight because it is that part of the color change, but there it is, this right leg of the pink stitch, 1 below your gray stitch. You're going to take that stitch and put it on your left needle. So there you go, you've got that leg of the stitch on your left needle. The next thing you're going to do is knit this first gray stitch together with that leg of the pink stitch. So insert your needle, knit these 2 together, and that basically pulls that up to create to kind of hide that jump, the jog in the round. Then replace your stitch marker and continue knitting. One note to make here, in this step I have you move the stitch marker. This is creating a new beginning of the round. You're shifting it every color change over, so you do want to be aware of that. If you are knitting just plain stockinette stripes like I'm doing in this example, it is perfectly okay usually to change the beginning of the round. So for example, if you're knitting a hat or a cowl or a sock. If however you are knitting something that has patterning that needs to line up, or something that the stitch marker is not just the beginning of the round, but also notes something like the side of a sweater, you should not move the stitch marker in this technique. You can still do the technique, pull that leg of the stitch up onto the needle, but just don't move the stitch marker. Leave it where it originally was placed. So here is what the stripes look like. You can see by actually lifting up that stitch, this is my color change. You're not really seeing that jump. Here's a color change here. You're not seeing the jump. And if you look really closely, you can tell that there's something going on with these stitches, but by shifting the stitch marker, it's also shifting that so they're not all lining up. So it, again, kind of camouflages that idea of lifting up that leg to hide the jog. So this definitely has a much straighter line rather than that jagged line if you are not hiding the jog. Here's a little bonus idea. Whenever you have rounds that you're changing color pretty frequently, so this one is every 3 rounds, don't cut your yarn at the end of each color change. Instead, what you want to do is carry the yarn up the back, and the best way to do this is to anchor it. So what I do is I've been knitting with my gray yarn. What I want to do is to take the pink yarn that I'm not using and just pull it, so from the back, pull it kind of back around the gray yarn. So that way you can see how it's kind of got this loop over the gray yarn, and then continue knitting with the gray, and you'll see the pink yarn is hidden back there, so it's not going to show through, and knit your first stitch with the gray. What you want to be careful about is don't pull the pink yarn too tightly, because that will create a pucker, but when you do that, it'll carry the yarn up the back, so that way it'll be waiting for you when you're ready to knit the next pink round. I hope you found this video tutorial helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I am KarenDawn on Ravelry.